Hanukkah. We are learning Mishna Gittin, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. Okay. So, again, we're going to be giving examples not unrelated to divorces. Well, I shouldn't say unrelated, but somewhat related to divorces. Actually, we'll get to one that's not related to divorces. And again, different other examples of things that were instituted by Rabbi Gamliel HaZakar, Rabbi Gamliel the Elder. So the Mishnah says like this: Ein almana nifra'as m'nechse yisaimim ela b'shvua. A widow cannot get paid her ksuba from the properties of the orphans, of the heirs, unless she makes an oath. That's the rule. The rule is that we know that a woman collects her ksuba either when her husband divorces her or if he dies, which means she has to then go to the heirs to collect the ksuba. And the halacha is that before she could actually get payment for the ksuba from the estate of her deceased husband, she has to swear to the fact that she has not been paid before she could actually make any kind of collection from the estate. So let me read to you here from the notes. She must swear that her husband had not given her all or part of her ksuba. That's the shvua, that's the oath. She hasn't been paid the whole ksuba in advance for whatever reason. She hasn't been paid part of it in advance. That's what she's swearing about. Now, there's a very important point here that, again, is made here in the notes. In fact, this is true for anyone who is owed money. That person may not collect from the property inherited by the debtor's orphans. Okay, he calls them orphans. I'm really not sure if orphans means that they're young or it means any of the heirs. Mm-hmm. But we'll just call them orphans because that's the wording. That's the wording of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says a widow does not get paid from the property of the orphans, okay, unless he first swears that he has not been paid even part of it. This is any debt. This is anybody who's collecting a payment from someone, and you can't do that if you're collecting from the debtor's orphans unless you swear. The reason is that when a lender comes to collect his money during the borrower's lifetime, the borrower can claim that he already paid the debt, in which case the lender would have to swear that he has not been paid. That's the halacha. That's a derabanan, not the right. It's a derabanan that if I say to you, you owe me money, and you say no, if I'm going to go, I have to now swear if I want to collect that debt. Let's say you say no because you already paid, right? You admit that you agree there was a debt, but you already paid it. So the halacha is the lender would have to swear that he has not been paid. Now, but that's in a regular case. You go to somebody who lent you money, you demand payment, and he can say, "I paid." Mm-hmm. Now, the orphans left by a borrower are unable to make this claim because they do not know whether their father paid anything. They have no idea. Which again, I don't know if that only applies to young children or even adult children, even adult heirs. But to protect the orphans' interests, the court makes the claim on their behalf, which means that the debtor must swear before he can collect. That's what happens all the time. When you want to collect from the orphans, the Beis Din is the one that makes that claim it was paid, and you're going to have to swear to the fact that it wasn't. Okay? So that's what's happening here also by the almana. The almana wants to come and collect from the orphans. She has to swear before she can take payment. Now, the Mishnah continues and says, Nimna'u milahashbia. They came to a point that the rabbinical courts did not want to allow her to swear about this. Meaning they put her in a bind. They did not want to allow her to swear. Why? What were they concerned about? So let me read here again from the notes. The courts were concerned that a widow who had been paid part of her ksuba, might still swear that she had not received anything. She could rationalize that since she had taken care of the orphans, the partial payment that she received may be viewed as reimbursement for her efforts. Meaning, there was another concern that they wouldn't let widows swear because they were afraid that the widows had been paid part, and they don't consider it paid as part of it, as the partial payment for the ksuba. It's more like their services for when they took care of the orphans. So they're going to swear that they didn't get anything, which is not true. And they know it's not true. They're going ahead and they are, in truth, however, since no one told her that the payment was since no one told her that the payment was for taking care of the children, she must assume that it was for the ksuba. Meaning, this is how she's rationalizing it. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that it's not that way. That's not what the money was given for. The money was given for a ksuba. If the money wasn't say the husband to give her the money in advance for taking care of the children, then she has to assume that it was for the ksuba. Which means now when she's swearing that she didn't get anything, she's swearing falsely. And that's a very serious sin. And therefore, the courts were refraining from allowing her to swear. Apparently, this was a big enough problem. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the Mishnah continues, Hiske Rabban Gamliel hazaken, shetehei noideres la yasaimim kol ma sheyirtzu v'goyvek subasa. Rabban Gamliel, the elder, instituted the following solution. We're not going to make her swear. That we're not going to do. What we're going to do is like this. The Yasaimim are going to basically say to her that if you got any payment, you have to make a neder that this is forbidden on you. We know there's such a thing called a neder, right? Where you can forbid something on yourself. So she is going to be told, if you want to collect from these Yasaimim, then you have to make a neder that says that if I got already some payment from the husband, that these things are going to become forbidden on me. And the Yisayim are going to decide what it is. The Yisayim know that she likes ice cream, right? She's an ice cream addict. And they're going to say, if you went ahead and you got partial payment, meaning make a neder that if you got partial payment, ice cream becomes forbidden on you. Now, at the end of the day, she didn't swear falsely. Is it possible she's still going to lie and break her neder? Is it possible? It's possible. But if meaning she's still going to rationalize, no, I never got anything. It was a payment. It was a payment for taking care of the orphans. She may still rationalize that, but it's not as bad. Not keeping a neder is not as serious as a false shvua, as a false oath. And therefore, Megillah instituted that she has to make a vow. Let me read the words again in the Mishnah. Hiska Rabban Gamliel hazaken, Megillah the elder instituted that she should make a vow to the orphans, for whatever they want, whatever they say the neder should be. Meaning, if you got any kind of payment, any kind of partial payment, you become forbidden on all these things. The goyvek subasa, and then after she agrees to that, she can collect her ksuba. So that is the first. That's another institution that Rabban Gamliel the elder made. Now next. Ha'edim chaisman ala get, witnesses sign on a get, on a bill of divorce, they tikkun ha'olam again for the benefit of society. Now, this words, they tikkun ha'olam for the benefit of society, is not just going back on what we just said about the witnesses signing, which we'll explain soon. It's going back on what Megillah instituted about the widow, making the vow before she can collect. That was also tikkun ha'olam, because if it comes out that women who lose their husband won't be able to swear to collect a ksuba from the estate, which is what was happening before Gamliel made this law, they're not going to get married. It's going to prevent them from getting married. And therefore, the institution Gamliel made was they tikkun ha'olam for the betterment of society. Now also here, this next example, where the witnesses sign on a get for they tikkun ha'olam for the benefit of society. Now we're used to the fact that that witnesses sign on a get, but as we mentioned previously, there is an argument as to we know that a get must have witnesses. It must have witnesses. It will not be valid without witnesses. But which witnesses? Witnesses that see it being given over, or witnesses that sign? There are some who say that according to the letter of the law, you don't need any witnesses signing on the get. All you need is witnesses seeing that the get was given. That gives the get its power to divorce, and she's divorced. And if the husband comes back and he says, that never happens, not true, you bring those witnesses to say it is true. But again, those witnesses are not just for proof. The witnesses, without witnesses, the get doesn't even have any effect whatsoever. Now, Rabban Gamliel made a law like this. If you want to rely on the witnesses who gave it over, what happens if one of them dies? What happens if you can't find one of them? The guy's claiming it's not true. You need the witnesses to come forth, and they're not around. They're dead. They're away. One of them is dead. One of them is away. You're going to be stuck. So therefore, what Rabbi Gamliel said is, even if the get is being given over with witnesses, you should sign it. So you shall have witnesses written on it that they would be able to come and testify if need be, right? They're testifying it's valid, right? If the husband comes and says, no, it's not, then either they come or other people validate their signatures, and we know that the get was good. The get is good. So it was something that he instituted, again, for the betterment of society. Now, it's interesting that at the end of the day, even after the decree, however, I'm reading here from the notes, a get is valid even if it's not signed, because the two witnesses who saw the giving of the get can confirm that she is divorced. Meaning, if you go ahead and you hold that the Eidim is Sirakarsi, that means the Eidim who see it being an over, they're the ones who really make everything happen. Rabbi Gamliel said, instituted for precautionary measures, sign it. Let's say you didn't sign it, and you gave it. Is it kosher? Yes, it is kosher. But Rabbi Gamliel instituted a precautionary measure that it should be signed, which is what we do. Now, the last thing in the Mishnah, Hillel Hiskin Pruzbol Neitikon Olam. Hillel instituted what's called Pruzbol, again, for the betterment of society. We know that in the Shemitah year, all debts are canceled. And the Torah says, actually warns people not to refrain from lending to the poor because they're afraid their debts are going to be canceled. You're not allowed to do that. It's prohibition in the Torah. The problem is, that's what was happening. When Shemitah was getting closer, people didn't want to lend money. So therefore, Hillel, not Rabbi Gamliel, Hillel, who was Hillel, he instituted that what you can do is like this. You make a pruzbul. A pruzbul is a document, but the document says that what you're doing is that you are basically taking all your debts. Let me read it to you how they say it here. Hillel therefore established the pruzbul contract in which a lender declares before judges that he transfers his loans to them. He's giving he's transferring them for them to collect. He thereby retains the right to collect the loans in the name of the court even after the Shemitah year. We derive from the words of the Torah itself that if the debts are under Beis Din's control, if the loans are under Beis Din's control, Shemitah doesn't knock it off. So what you do by a principle is you transfer the debts to the Beis Din. They're the ones doing the collection, and then you collect it in their name. Meaning, again, they're collecting it for you. They're not collecting it for themselves. You're not giving them a loan to collect for the Beis Din to pocket the money, but you transfer the loans to Beis Din. That Beis Din should do the collection. Okay, so you do that. Beis Din is empowered to make the collection. That's what protects it from Shemitah canceling it. And then at the end, you go and collect it in the name of the Beis Din. You collect the debt you collect in the name of the Beis Din, which is supposed to be collecting it for you. And now, in the name of Beis Din, you go and collect that debt, which is a payment for the loan that you made. Have a wonderful day, and Freilich and Hanukkah. There will not be a class until Monday morning in Mirz Hashem. Have a wonderful day.